Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. This is our first show of 2025, hard to believe, right? January 4th. Of course, I'm here with my co host, Eli. And yes, there is a lot going on in the world of sports.
Well, Happy New Year, Jim, and Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to 2025, and let's kick it off right and strong right here with another episode of Sports with Mono Mono.
You got it. So let's jump right into it. Of course, it's always with the monologue we start, and that's sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And Eli, my monologue this week is kind of from a personal perspective for me. First and foremost, you've been part of our show now for a little bit over a year and a half, and I couldn't be more happier to have you as the co-host. I get a lot of positive feedback. You're a knowledgeable, handsome young man, and I think this has worked great for us. We got a lot of perspective from the old man on the right and the young man on the left. But you've done a great job. You're bringing a lot of different things to the show, and I'm delighted to have you. And there's no signs of us slowing down at all. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jim, for having me on and doing the monologue about me. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. It's been a year and a half here now. Can't
Yep.
wait to go to year number 2 soon. We're coming up in June, I believe, for year number 2.
Yep.
Super excited to be part of it. We're just getting stronger week after week. We had a great week last week, and we're going to continue to have another great week. And don't forget, of course, like, subscribe, and don't click on the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Sports with Mono, and follow us on our social media platforms so you don't miss anything. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Not TikTok, Twitter, not TikTok.
Right. And so part two of our monologue, of course, is to thank our loyal listeners for their undying support of the show. We get a lot of comments, we get a lot of emails, and without them, of course, this show wouldn't be anything, right? So we try to make it interesting. We try to give a lot of facts and state of the world of sports and so forth, and it means everything to us. And you've been a big part of that. And going forward, we hope to have more guests and a little bit more graphics and a lot
slowly
more
building.
Yeah. So I just wanted to thank everybody, and we're going to jump into sports, but it's important for us and for our loyal listeners to know how much we appreciate the time they dedicate to listening to the show. And 2025 is going to be a great year for Sports with Mono and Mono.
And speaking of loyal listeners, Tom joins in and says hello and let's go Irish. And
I
the Irish
know.
of Notre Dame.
All right. We're going to get right into college football. And thank you, Tom. Tom's from Kansas City now. But I have to take my medicine. Okay. So I didn't do a good job picking on the college football playoffs. And a lot of people say, and Tom and myself, I'm a Notre Dame guy. Our producer Rob was always a diehard Notre Dame
Die hard Notre
fan,
Dame.
and I
Absolutely.
actually went against them. I thought Georgia was going to give them more of a game, and I knew they were without their starting quarterback, but I always
Problem
think
number
very
one.
highly of Kirby Smart. So I missed it, and my point is that Notre Dame, they lost to Northern Illinois this year. A lot of people say they didn't play as strong a schedule as like a Big Ten team, but boy, did they look really, really good. And Riley Leonard, it seems to have full command of that team. And we're going to get to our picks of the Final Four, but like I said, the experts such as ourselves sometimes don't get it right.
Right. And I want to comment real quick about it. I would like
Go
to
ahead.
say this. We knew kind of going in that there was a backup quarterback. We were both debating about this pick. We thought Georgia would be the better team considering their strength of schedule and everything that happened in the postseason, regular season. And of course, what happened, every single team that had a bye lost, and that includes Georgia. Notre Dame looked like the better team. And even with a day of rest, because remember, the game was moved from Wednesday to Thursday due to the incident in New Orleans, which we are sending our thoughts and prayers to. They
Yep.
still came up on top. And what an impressive performance by Notre Dame. We're definitely going to see them go far in the college football playoffs, and we'll see them national championship is my early prediction, even though we're not to the picks yet.
Okay. Well, like I said, you and I both didn't do very good in the 4 games I took Boise State, so I got to take the hit on that as well. Texas is really the only one of the 4 that we both got right.
Yes, and they went to a double overtime too. That was a close game with Arizona State. That was one of the best games of the 4 that we had on New Year's.
It was, and that kid from Arizona State, Cam Scatterbo, really it showed the country. I hadn't heard of him. I hadn't seen them play all year, but what a physical. And he was the MVP from the losing team in the Peach Bowl, so that's exciting.
Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, Tom comments, he says Bobo is not a go-go, and love you, Eli, for the comments. You're welcome.
Excellent. So, by the way, I did say that I thought Oregon was going to have a clear path,
we all did.
And they that was the team, and they got manhandled by Ohio State, no question about it. And
I'm disappointed.
Will Howard and the wide receiver, this kid Jeremiah Smith, who we all knew was going to be a superstar in college football and ultimately in the NFL, but he showed the nation what kind of a player he is, and they're clicking on all cylinders. So we got that, and like I said, Georgia, had many opportunities to keep that game close.
That game alive.
And give the kid was it Gunnar Stockton? Give him kudos. The kid played his heart out, but they were outmatched, and they took it on the chin. So what that leaves us is the final 2 games of this inaugural 12-team college football playoff.
Right. Which I want to get into.
And you and I've talked a little bit about it, Eli. I know you got some thoughts on that and selection of it. There was
Jimmy still there?
What do we got?
Yeah, Jim, I don't know if you're still there.
You still, Eli?
Yeah, Jim, are you there?
Uh-oh. Okay.
You there now?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. Yeah. Looks like you're
all right, good.
Off a little bit. Now you're good now.
All right, good. So, and then there were 4. So let's talk about the 2 games that are going to determine who the national championship team is. And
we'll go to the 2 games, and I want to go back to it because I want to talk about the thoughts about the format and 2 other things from college football.
All right, get the format thoughts out of the way. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start with the format. I think 12 was too much. And the reason why I think 12 was too much, the bye was unnecessary because we saw the 4 teams that had a bye, they all lost. And we saw in the first round when we had home field advantage for the teams, the 4 teams that got in also lost. And it was not close games. It was pretty much blowout games. I mean, we noticed that 4 is too little, 12 is too much, maybe right down the middle at 8. Or if they're going to keep the 12 format going forward, no buys. Because it seems like the buys is what killed everybody. And we saw a weaker team from all those 4 teams. And it looked like that we did not even see them play good. Ohio State, shocked about how, as you mentioned, this was a team we were like too much talking about in the regular season. They were not the greatest of all time heading in. But then look at the run that they're having. It's pretty amazing. And we're going to see a lot more for them. Now, the one other note I have here is, I don't know if anybody watched the Pop-Tart Bowl, but I think that was one of the best bowls that we've ever seen. Not the game, but just the concept of it. And I think that needs to be into the top 12 bowl game conversation of the college football, not just a regular bowl game. That's just my opinion. I think that was just the grade. They did it fantastic, and they got to add that to the 12-team playoff as one of the.
Okay, well, while you brought that up, because it's I've gotten some comments that Eli has never had a Pop-Tart. And
I have not, no.
So I was hoping that you would have gone out this week and bought a frosted Pop-Tart and at least had a Pop-Tart for the first time in your life. But I guess not, huh?
No, but I do got to say though that that was a great bowl. That the bowl game that they had a toaster inside the trophy. That was pretty unique. And
who are the teams in the Pop-Tart Bowl?
It was Miami and I gotta catch up on that. I know it was Miami was one of them. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go real quick because Pop Star Bowl was Iowa and Miami.
Yeah. And that was kind of a showcase game for Cam Ward. He played the first half, sat out the second half. So, we're going to get to that down the road because we have, the draft is still 3 months away.
We
But
got two comments coming in there, and I'm laughing because I'm already laughing. Eric says, "I am getting all my 2025 sports with Mono and Mono. Happy New Year to all." Eric, thank you for watching.
yeah.
Tom says, "No wonder why Eli looks healthy. No Pop-Tarts." And Andrew says, "Good morning. Big fan of frosted strawberry Pop-Tarts."
I gotta say, my favorite of the chocolate Pop-Tarts, frosted, of course. Frosted.
You see where you started, Jim?
Listen, it took us 6 months to get you to watch Rudy, so
well, now it's gonna take 6 months to get a Pop-Tart.
Get some Pop-Tarts this week for lunch. Right? All right, Eli. So good thoughts and stuff. So let's talk about the final two games, and let's talk. The first one is Notre Dame, Penn State. And listen, I'm really become impressed with the way Drew Aller. Yeah, he's played extremely well, and Penn State looks very, very good. And there's always been the knock on James Franklin can't win the big game. Well, this is the big game, and his job is on the line. I think if they stay competitive with Notre Dame, they're a tough team. But I'm going with the Irish in this game because I was just so impressed how quick, how fast, how dominating they were on defense. So I'm going to take Notre Dame over Penn State in game one. And the second game, this could be an interesting game. This is one of those tough games to pick. We've seen Ohio State, right? They look lackluster. They got beat by Oregon in the first game at home during the regular season, and then they of course lost to Michigan for the fourth straight year. So they're going against Texas, and the question is Quinn Ewers that good of a quarterback that he could beat a team like Ohio State? Because Ohio State's going on all cylinders, and Texas, I'm not expecting a blowout. They were a very, very good football team, but I'm going to go with Ohio State over Texas. And you let me know what your two picks are for those.
Now,
games.
I was holding the flashcard for those watching like this. That goes to prove to me that I was not writing during the show my picks and that we did not copy off of each other. But somehow we both agree on the same teams, Ohio State and Notre Dame, to go to the final. Why both these teams? Well, Ohio State was just impressive. To beat Oregon like that in the Rose Bowl was absolutely incredible. And for Notre Dame was a phenomenal win over Georgia. And those two teams look like the two best teams right now of the four that are going to go far and make a playoff run. These two teams, I think, have the talent. They have the strength, great coaching, and I think they're going to get the job done. So give me Notre Dame and Ohio State in the college football Final Four.
All right. So we're aligned there.
Actually. Yeah. The Notre Dame Penn State game's Thursday at the Capital One Orange Bowl in Miami. Goodyear Cotton Bowl is Ohio State, Texas on Friday. Both games, 7:30 on ESPN.
Yeah, and that's kind of the challenge that the whole 12 team, because it's elongating the season into late January when it was normally over in the first week of January. Yeah, right. Late December.
Like used to be this week was the championship. And they're really trying to compete, I guess, with the NFL because they have a week 0. The NFL does not have a week 0, except they have the preseason games. Yep. So they're really trying to compete in going neck and neck with the NFL every single week. That's what it seems like that they're doing. Now, obviously, they're different days and stuff, but that's what they're trying to do. Like towards the end run, it's competing with the NFL because they do Saturday games in December and part of November. So they're really trying to keep it close.
Well, we're going to find out whether or not my personal feelings is they're not going to go away from the 12-team format. Just hopefully they can work it out. But I do agree.
Make some changes.
I think an 18 format. I kind of always thought an 18 format would have been the right way to go. and then see if that worked, and then if it worked and they got the viewership and the exciting games, then they would move to the 12 games. But it didn't work out that way. I think they're going to stay with 12, whether we like it or not. So we'll see. Great games in college football, though. I mean, you can't get away from it. College football.
It's incredible. Now, listen, we had so many great games in that final. When we had the 8 semifinal games, it was not impressive except for that one game, which was Texas, where they got the victory. Well, you got to look at it this way. We're going to get to the Final Four, and this is when the games really become close. No matter which game you watch, they're going to become close and really entertaining games. It won't be like what we saw last on New Year's. It's going to get better, folks.
Yep. All right, so we got college football in the books. Let's jump right to our
NFL.
Professional league, the National Football League, and this is the last weekend of the regular season. Hard to believe that as well.
I know, but the first thing I think we have to talk about has to be the New York Giants defeating the Indianapolis Colts. I think that has to be the first thing. Why would you mess up your draft positioning? Why?
Well, I don't know.
So many right now.
I know, but it's hard to kind of throw an NFL game. I don't know. I mean, because you have kids that are playing for their futures and so forth. But yes, so mercifully, the New York Giants season ends tomorrow in Philadelphia, and we'll get to our picks in a little bit. But yeah, that was the one game that kind of blew me up last week in the crown competition for me and you, because I had Indianapolis, and I didn't expect the Giants to come out and kind of manhandle.
And what did I say before you made the picks? I said I picked Giants to win it, but I didn't pick it for my pick standings. I should have done it, and I texted you right after the game, and I should have picked it because I said it. I said the Giants are going to end up winning that game. I'm mad about that.
They did, and I don't know. Did it? I mean, I think winning tomorrow in Philadelphia would certainly hurt their draft status, but I think right now, when you look at the 4 teams in play, I don't think New England has a quarterback, so we know it's the Giants need a quarterback, and whatever. We'll see how that all unfolds. But
they need more than just a quarterback.
Yeah, I know they do. And I don't know. I've been a Brian Dable fan, and I've said this all along, though. Somebody has to take accountability, whether it's Joe Shane, the GM, or Brian Dable, the coach, or both. Somebody has to go. You cannot lose 9 out of 9 home games in front of your home fans and expect them to come out and support the team, because there was a little bit of high expectations. The Daniel Jones thing didn't work out, and the quarterback situation has been an absolute mess. So thank God that this
$11. $11 for tickets, Jim. That was, I believe, the cost. Honestly, and it was pretty warm. Wasn't it warm on Sunday? I think it was pretty warm.
Well, it
wasn't bad. I mean, $11 to see a football game. I mean, I don't care if they're losing, but I want to pay the $11 and go.
I know. So, from a New York perspective, they play in the same stadium. Thank goodness we don't have to hear about Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, we don't have to hear about Aaron Rodgers ever again in New York.
Another team would be great, not New York.
Yeah. So the New York season was a disappointment for whether you're a Giants or a Jets fan. And
what did I say in the beginning of the year? Don't expect the Jets to go far. Right about that.
Oh, well, I said that too. I knew that everybody had expectation that the Jets were going to at least be 12-5, and I said, I don't think so.
No way. So. If you haven't seen Aaron Rodgers last year and he didn't want to come out preseason or practice, you knew trouble was about to start, and before the first preseason game even kicked off.
Yeah. So thank goodness. So, and also, Eli, keep in mind now, it's the final week of the season, which means Black Monday is only a couple days away, and there's a lot of coaches on the hot seat. There's going to be a lot of firings. You could question whether the guy in Jacksonville, Peterson, is going to survive. The Jets need a coach. The Giants need potentially a coach.
Colts need to get rid of the whole organization.
Yeah, so
they've been failing too.
We'll see about that. So, Eli, give us the rundown of playoff implications for the NFL this weekend.
Right? Yes, indeed. I'm going to start off with who's in and who's out. Well, we do know the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, the Texas Steelers, and the Chargers in the AFC are all in. Now still in the hunt, the Broncos, Dolphins, and Bengals. I'll get to those playoff implications in just a little bit. And in for the NFC, the Lions, the Eagles, the Rams, the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Packers, the Falcons and Buccaneers still on standby mode. Now, here are your playoff scenarios as we enter the final week of the NFL season. The Ravens can lock up a division win at the 3 seed with a win or a tie. Or if the Steelers lose or tie, they can go in no matter what happens, as long as if they win or the Steelers lose or tie. The Steelers can lock up the division at the 3 seed with a win and a loss from Baltimore. So they need to win and hope Baltimore loses. Now, keep in mind, the Steelers play the Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens take on the Browns. The Bengals are in the playoffs with a win, but they need help, though. They need Denver to lose and Miami to lose. So likely we're not going to see Joe Burrow and Cincinnati in the playoffs. We look at the Denver Broncos. They're in the playoffs with a win. And also, if both Miami and Cincinnati lose, they're in automatically if Denver were to lose and both those teams do decide to lose as well. The Dolphins are in the playoffs with a win and a Denver loss. They're potentially in. It all depends on what happens with Denver and if they can beat the New York Football Jets. Meanwhile, the Lions can clinch the number 1 seed and a division win with a win over Minnesota. And likewise, the Vikings can do the same if they can beat Detroit. So that Sunday night game is going to be epic to watch because it is a battle for the number 1 seed and who gets a bye heading into the playoffs. The Falcons, they clinched the NFC South division with a win and a Buccaneers loss. The Buccaneers, simple. They win, they're in. Or a Falcons loss, and they're in as well. The Buccaneers, they take on the Saints. The Panthers take on the Falcons.
Yeah, and here's one of those playoff flaws that you could kind of point out because we're talking hard to believe we're talking about the Falcons and the Dolphins still having a potential to get in. And right, I mean, obviously the implications a little bit different because Miami can't win their division. So
correct,
but Atlanta can, and Detroit,
and so is Tampa Bay,
and Detroit, which has been one of the best teams all year. If they win, they win the division. If they lose,
they're playing away.
Right, they got to play an away game, most likely against somebody
every
like
game,
the Atlanta Falcons. So
right, which that could be a winnable game to start. However, you know, it's tough. What happens the next round? Now you're going to be the away team. So that game means a lot more than anything. Now, Buccaneers could get or would be the first team in if they win. Buccaneers would get it. But if they lose and Falcons win, then the Falcons get it.
Yeah. I mean, the Falcons are not a playoff team, but unfortunately.
No, nor Buccaneers, it's a wishy-washy situation. That's the word I like to use. Because it depends really on what day and how they play each day. Sometimes they can make a run for it.
Yeah, I give Baker Mayfield a lot more credit than I've given him in the past, but he's really playing well. So we have a lot of playoff implications. Yep.
Other quick news real quick. Pro Bowlers have been announced, and with the teams, no Pro Bowlers from the Jets, Saints, Dolphins, or Titans this year. So sorry to those teams. Cowboys released Ezekiel Elliott. They picked him up. They release him now. Saquon Barkley, the 9th player to go over 2,000 rushing yards in a season. I don't think he's going for the record, if I'm not mistaken.
He's no. They're gonna sit him down. They're gonna rest him. But I did look at, he would have had the opportunity to break Eric Dickerson's record, but remember,
he should have went for it.
Yeah, but overall, when you look at he's only 100 yards away from Eric Dickerson. But Eric Dickerson had like at least 50 more carries. So Barkley's season is really remarkable from that aspect.
He should have went for the record.
Nah, but when you think about it, the record is a little tainted because Simpson did it in 1973 with 2,000 yards and a 14-game schedule. Dickerson did it with a 16-game schedule. So, I mean, you put it into perspective, 2,000 yards is 2,000 yards, no question. But you can't, it's hard to compare records. It's very similar to the home run records with Babe Ruth and Roger Maris when they only used to play 154-game season as opposed to 162. So just keep those little anomalies.
And you could comment, by the way, at home. Let us know. Should Saquon Barkley should have went for the record? Should he have not? And thoughts on the upcoming playoffs coming up for the NFL. You can leave us a comment or send us an email after the show. It's sportsmonone@gmail.com.
All right, Eli, I wanted to talk one thing before we get into our picks, which is this is a critical week for both you and I, and
I
we're
know.
gonna
We'll
get
get to that standing chart in a second, but we'll go to what you're saying. Go for it, Jim.
yeah. So of course the eligibility and the Hall of Fame nominees came out for the NFL, and I know Jim Walsh is listening, and I'm going to go down a list of guys, and whether or not I believe they're surefire Hall of Famers, guys that could be Hall of Famers, but they don't have to get in on the first ballot. So let me go down the list of a couple of guys. First of all, it's still hard for me to believe that Antonio Gates is not in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the
Wow.
greatest tight ends to ever play the game,
Right.
and he's gotten rejected for some reason the past couple of years. So unequivocally, I say Antonio Gates, yes. Um, and the only other one that I could say 100% belongs in there, and that's Adam Vinatieri. I know he's a field goal kicker, but this kid never missed anything when the game was on the line. And you're letting some other field goal kickers in, and punters are starting to get in. So Vinatieri, pivotal in the Super Bowl for the
Frankie
New England
comments.
Patriots.
He says that Eli is a first ballot Hall of Famer, as well as Gates. No doubt about it.
Okay, and that's where Frankie, thank you for listening. And I'm on the fence with this. Being a Giants fan and Eli Manning, if you look at his numbers, they're impressive. The overall record is 500. So, but he did win 2 Super Bowls. So, guys that haven't won 2 Super Bowls got in. Dan Fouts got in, didn't win a Super Bowl at all. Dan Marino, of course, obviously belonged in the Hall of Fame, but didn't have a Super Bowl. So, Eli, I'm going to say he's a Hall of Famer, but I don't think it's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that record, to me, is the one thing that can hold him back. But no question, he's going into the Hall of Fame, but maybe not on the first ballot. And here's a couple other names
I
that
think he is absolutely a first round ballot.
yeah,
100%.
he might get in. He might. I'm not going to be disappointed if he is. There's
I
two
think he is. I
Super
mean,
Bowl
I
ones.
cannot name another New York Giant that is greater than him right now. Personally, in my opinion, that we've seen in a long time. He won 2 Super Bowls. He beat the greatest of all time, the GOAT Tom Brady, which is very hard to do. Very
Yeah,
few has done that.
hit him
Even
twice.
this twice in the Super Bowl too. That's incredible.
Yeah,
And he's just a
yep.
phenomenal guy and always kind to others. Absolutely, he's a Hall of Famer.
I know. And character means something. I'm not opposed to him getting in on the first ballot, but if it was next year he got in, I'd be fine with that too. But here's a couple other names I just wanted to go in. And like I said, when I see names, immediately I know whether or not they were a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? When you talked about Reggie White and guys like Bruce Smith, these were absolute Hall of Famers. And of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers from the 70s with Ham and Lambert, and these guys were Hall of Famers. Here's a couple names I want to throw out. Steve Smith, probably the all-time leading receiver for the Carolina Panthers. Great player. Hall of Fame first ballot? No. Jared Allen, great defensive lineman for both. I think he played for the Chiefs and the Vikings. Great player, but is he Reggie White? Is he Bruce Smith? No. And I don't think he played long enough or had as many good years to get in. Terrell Suggs, linebacker, absolutely a great player. First ballot? Nope. Sorry. Luke Kuechly, another great, and that's a feel-good story for the Panthers, out of Boston College. But first ballot Hall of Famer? I don't think so. And here's one I was kind of on the fence with, and that's Reggie Wayne. And, he had a great career, but when I put it into perspective, saying, Marvin Harrison, of course, surefire first ballot Hall of Fame. Reggie Wayne, great career, but first ballot? No. Maybe next year, I'd be anyway. Those are my Hall of Fame things. But yeah, I think when you think about Gates not being in the Hall of Fame, there's got to be something there, because that
That
doesn't make
questions it.
any sense to me at all.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Let's get to That standings chart. That's the moment
Okay.
everybody's been waiting for. Let's pull
Everybody's
it up
been,
there.
yeah.
It is close. As you could tell, the overall standings, Jim's at 42 and 27. I'm at 39 and 30. It's going to come down to next week.
This
I
week.
need
This
week,
week.
this week, yeah. I need 3 to tie, hoping that Jim loses 3, and 4 to win, hoping that Jim loses all those games. So, Jim, I wish you the best of luck, but I do hope you lose a lot of games so I can get the crown back, or we can at
I
least
can,
tie and share it
I
together
can,
as we
under,
head into the postseason.
I can understand your position, but I have this, I'm supposed to be the old crafty veteran that knows everything about sports.
Yeah, but
And
it's okay. We gotta share. That's why we have
all
a
right,
show.
so I got my 4 games, and I'm going to go for them
Let's
first.
go.
Ready? The Giants at Philadelphia. And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, he's picking a cupcake game." Not necessarily.
He wants the crown. That's why.
But I'm going to take Philadelphia. Excuse me. I know there's a lot going around and battling
Yeah, I know it's been
colds
horrible.
and everything. So sorry about that, folks. So that's my first game. Second game, not a cupcake game. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
That's
And
not
I
a
can't
cupcake.
waver at this point. I've been on Joe Burrow. The kind of funny thing is, they're on the verge. They have to win and they need some help. But the year that Joe Burrow's had is kind of one of the record-breaking type things. But I've been on Cincinnati's bandwagon. I just hope they can contain these guys and not let Russell Wilson or whoever, maybe even Justin Fields, whoever plays for Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's in, but this could affect theirs. So it's not nobody's laying down on this game, but I'm taking Cincinnati. Third game, yeah, I don't know, maybe kind of a cupcake game. Carolina at Atlanta, but there's Atlanta playoff implications for this. And they did make the switch from Cousins to Penix. And I'm going to take Atlanta in game 3. And here's another game with a lot of playoff implication, not necessarily for Kansas City, because they got the home field throughout the whole playoffs again. But they're playing Denver. And now Denver, like I said, if you guys listen to the show, I've been a big fan of Bo Nix, and I'm a big fan of Sean Payton. But this is Patrick Mahomes. And unfortunately for Denver, I think Kansas City's going to win that game. So my picks, to recap: Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Atlanta, and Kansas City. And now, Eli, these are your 4 biggest picks of the year. Have at it.
Big picks of the year. I know. What a way to kick off 2025. Am I right? Let's start off with this. We're going to do 4 games. We'll start off with Saints Buccaneers, 1:00 on Fox. I cannot trust the Saints. However, they're going to try to win it for New Orleans, especially what happened. I'm going to take, though, the Buccaneers, 32-18. Bears, they take on the Packers, 1:00 on Fox. Very good game for the Packers. I mean, really, this means nothing because they don't have a chance at winning the number 1 seed. It's just a matter of what happens next. So I'm going to go with the Packers here, though, 22-14. Panthers at the Falcons, 1:00 CBS. We're both picking that game. Very good game. Panthers really been trying, but the Falcons want to be in the playoffs. And if they can do it, if Buccaneers lose, and regardless of what happens, I think the Falcons will win it, 30-28. Seattle takes on Los Angeles, 4:25 on Fox. Rams, they're going to be resting everybody. They're in the playoffs. Seattle's out thanks to everybody last week. Thank you, by the way, for losing, for winning Cincinnati, and for the 3 teams that we needed to decide to lose. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I'm going to send you a Christmas card later. Seattle, I'm going to take in the victory here, 24-20. LA's resting, and just Seattle's that wishy-washy team that's going to somehow win that game tomorrow, even though it means absolutely nothing for them. So my picks are Seattle, Atlanta, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay. Good luck, Jim. It's all for the crown.
Well, you know what? I actually would agree with all of the picks that you made, but I took a different
route.
It's going to come down to it, and then whoever gets the better record this week will have the bragging rights for the entire offseason until we.
Yes, but we still have to add. We're going to add into it though the playoffs, but we're going to finalize that crown for regular season. But we're going to add to the overall record for the playoffs.
Okay, good.
And
Um,
Derek comments, Wentz for the W.
I don't want anything to do with Carson Wentz. I've seen enough of him, and I know people say he's still a viable. Um, what do they call that?
Figure?
Step in replacement guy. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with him, certainly. But
Fair enough.
um, anyway, so those are that's our recap for the NFL, and games are right. We got a game this afternoon and tonight. Cincinnati game, I believe, is tonight, and this afternoon it's the Ravens game.
Yes,
Right?
the Ravens Browns are first at 4:30 ABC and ESPN Saturday tonight at 8 o'clock. ABC ESPN is the Bengals Steelers.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, Eli. So we do have, I know Frankie and Derek and Diego. So give us a little recap on this Premier League soccer.
I know.
I don't know a lot about it.
Me
I
neither,
don't
but we're gonna
follow
do
it as
something
much.
about it.
Yep.
Well, Premier League soccer is, I guess you could say, a very long season. They start in August and they end in May with 2 months of off time. That's a long time of playing
Uh,
soccer.
yeah.
They play 38 matches for each teams. I know Jim's already shaking his head. I don't blame you on that one. We're gonna get to some scores, I guess, right now because there are a lot of games happening as we speak right now. Chelsea is winning 1-0 right now over Crystal Palace in the 35th minute, and Manchester City is winning over West Ham 1-0. Brentford over Southampton right now 1-0. That game's happening now. And final so far this morning, Newcastle 2-1. Most games are on Peacock, so you won't be seeing me watch those games. And unless you have Peacock, that's where you can watch it. However, the Brighton and Hove Albion and Arsenal game at 12:30, that's on NBC.
Sure.
And right now, Liverpool holds the number one spot currently overall in the Premier League soccer standings with 18 games played and 14 wins. The lowest right now is Southampton
Okay.
in this chart. But
So
yeah, not
are these all are these all win and you're in, or win and you move on, and if you lose you're out? Is that where we're at?
it just continues on the season. It's like a regular season right now
Oh, I
for
thought this
Premier
was
League.
kind of like the playoff run. See, that tells
No,
you how much I know about
yeah, it's
soccer.
like it goes from August to May, so we still got a while. But yeah,
Okay. All right. So soccer fans, don't say we didn't give you a little bit of an
now if you
insight.
want to know more about it, just send us email or let us know more about it because we're not
Yep.
exactly the experts at this. We're not the FIFA World Cup is a different story, but Premier League soccer, we're not really we're doing the show when the games happen typically. So
Yeah.
if you could
Exactly.
just give us an update or whatever, we'll be great and we got to talk more about it. We just need to know more.
Yeah. Seems like Saturday mornings or whatever are the big games for soccer. So
Yeah, unfortunately, we should all be watching this show.
all right, Eli, let's
More
let's
important
touch a
program.
little quickly on the NBA, and
Do we have to?
again, I know, but again, we're seeing another instance. This is the old Kyrie Irving Durant
Yep.
thing with
Jimmy
Jimmy
Butler.
Butler in Miami, and he wants out, so he's demanding a trade. It just goes on and on in sports that these guys, if they don't agree with, in this case, this is something between Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler, and
Right.
that's going to blow up the whole Miami season and so forth. This guy wants out, so they're going to accommodate him. Again, you know how I feel about these guys that hold out and demand trades, but um, hopefully they can get some sort of, because I don't think Miami is a bad basketball team,
No.
but they would need Jimmy Butler to win. So whatever they get in um, what they receive back for him could dictate whether they make the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
But my point is, in the NBA right now, you're looking at the teams that are dominating the league, and that's Cleveland, right? They only have 4 losses so far in this season, and that's Donovan Mitchell's team, and that's a good feel good story for NBA. The Knicks are playing outstanding basketball, although they ran into a buzzsaw last night. Oklahoma City Thunder with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, they're a hell of a team, and they score a lot of points, and they beat the Knicks last night. But the Knicks with Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are going to be a formidable thing. And, ultimately it's going to set up a showdown with them and the Celtics at conference play to get into the NBA Finals. I don't
Yes.
think the Knicks are there quite yet.
It's still a young developing team, bottom line.
Right. But really impressed with Oklahoma City, I got to say. No doubt
Absolutely.
about that.
And the big trade was Lakers last week. They trade D'Angelo Russell, Max Lewis, and 3 second-round picks to the Nets for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. That was a big trade from last week.
Well, the thing with what's going on with the Nets is they're stockpiling. They're going to have 7 first-round picks in the next 5 years or 4 years. So they're
incredible.
They're trying to rebuild after the experiment with Durant and Harden and so forth didn't work out. So they got a long road back, but that's the path they've decided to choose. And all we hear about in the NBA is LeBron James breaking one more record, right? Today or yesterday, he passed Michael Jordan for the most 30-point games in NBA history. He just passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most minutes played and so forth. So, but just keep in mind, remember, I think he wants to play with both his sons on the Lakers. So he's going to be hanging around for another 2 years. His son committed to Arizona this week.
It's going to be more than just 2 years, Jim.
Yeah, I know. We'll see. Anyway, that and, let's touch base. So in the NHL, my Rangers.
Eric says Laga.
What is that?
Lego. Oh, Lego.
The GOAT. Yeah, no question. No question. He's the second greatest player of all time behind Michael Jordan. I stand by that. And will never waver.
Yeah. The NHL we go to. Washington holds first place. Winnipeg holds first place. We had the New Year's Winter Classic on New Year's Eve, and it brought bad viewership. 992,000, lowest all time. Bad advertisement. Too many other games in the NHL happening at once. And also, the college football competed, really. And I think now the Winter Classic is standing no more chance anymore. The Stadium Series is still out there because it's like in the middle of February. Not much is happening. But for right now, big disappointment from the Winter Classic this weekend.
Yeah, it was the lowest rated Winter Classic ever, actually.
Yeah, they got to do some marketing changes, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, they can't. The NHL doesn't get much loving until after the NFL playoffs, anyway.
Right.
We know that. So,
and we know that by heart.
But my New York Rangers, they were the President's Cup team last year, and they're at the bottom of the.
Oh, the curse is real. I love it.
I know. I don't know what's going on there, but look for some changes.
I told you, Jim, the curse is real. You don't want to. That's the one thing NHL you want to do. Never win first place. That's what every NHL team should have on their list. Don't win first place. Make the playoffs. Don't win first place.
I got you. But probably the big story, of course, in the NHL is Ovechkin's chase for Gretzky.
That's awesome, I think.
Yeah, and I remember saying, I know my little brother when he was co-hosting with us, said that he would break the record. I didn't think it was possible, but I think it is going to happen now. He'll at least play next year if it doesn't happen this year. But and I looked at it, and because I actually thought that he's kind of been hanging around to break this record, but in reality, in games played with Wayne Gretzky, they're very close in the amount of games played. So I mean, Gretzky. We will never concede anything other than he's the greatest hockey player of all time.
Correct.
But yeah, this record is probably going to be in jeopardy. They say if Ovechkin comes back, stays on this pace, he will break the record this year. But if not, he's coming back to break it next year. But he'll never be Wayne Gretzky. Period.
100%.
So anyway,
time for some random points.
We got some random points, which, of course, is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And again, we send our thoughts and prayers back to Mike. And I'm actually going to have an opportunity to pay a personal visit with our one of our lead sponsors and Doing great. Doing great. 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 Love it. All right, Eli. So I got a couple of random points. I know you're going to have some too. We were tracking the Division III football playoffs, and in particular, we were focused on this team, Susquehanna, who went above and beyond and were winning games along the playoff route that they weren't expected to win, but they finally met their match. They lost, and they lost big to North Central in Illinois, which sets up the Division III final with North Central versus Mount Union. And as I mentioned before, Mount Union's always been a powerhouse in Division III football. So we'll give you the results of that game next week.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just kind of briefly mentioned it before, but Bryce James, LeBron's youngest son, has committed to the University of Arizona. And when you think about it, committing doesn't really mean he's going there. That's just, that doesn't mean a lot. But if that's where he's going, I think I had this conversation with some folks and Derek and those guys that you have to at least play 1 year in college or 1 year in a development league or
Right.
overseas.
Something like that.
Yeah. So whether or not LeBron James is going to hang on so he could play with both his sons in Los Angeles remains
is the question.
Yeah. Couple other things here. The U.S. is in the World Junior Hockey Championships, which is always
pretty impressive.
Exciting. And you know what? This is a great showcase because these are all of these college players, and in particular, there's like 3 studs from Boston College that are in playing for the U.S. So they're going up against Switzerland in the semifinals, and I don't know who the other one is. Anyway, but that's something that's follow. That's exciting hockey, actually. It really is.
Yes, it is.
And last one, I have random points, and I'm going to bring this up because we're scheduling to have an Emmy Award-winning media guy for ABC News 7, and it's a personal thing for me because I've known Kevin Jager for many years, but Kevin just won an Emmy for his reporting and coverage of an incident in New York City back in 6 months ago, the Union Square riots and whatnot. But Kevin is also a graduate of the University of Miami, so he's a Hurricane fan, and he covered them in college when he was there. So he's also a Jet fan. So we're gonna talk to Kevin. Hopefully he'll be on the show next week if he's available, but he'll give us some good insight. And I know he follows the Hurricanes, and I'd like to get a Hurricane perspective on whether or not they think Cam Ward is going to be that impact player in the NFL. So,
all right.
Looking forward to that.
I got 2 quick random points because I don't have much we said most of it already. Random points. We go with Charlie Morin, and the Orioles have agreed on a 1-year, $15 million deal. That was announced just the other day.
Oh, that's a big loss for the Braves.
Yeah. The final note I have, this Friday is Hoda Kotb's last show on NBC's Today, as she announced she'll be stepping down and retiring from NBC. And today, very sad to see. So if you are around on Friday, and you do have the morning, watch Hoda on Today for the final time. Congrats on a well-done in job career over at NBC.
She'll still be around doing stuff. Don't worry about that. We haven't seen the last of her.
All right. Well, now it's time for the entertainment and photo segment. That is sponsored by Vital Selections. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Yep. And again, Vital Selections is our newest sponsor, but very delighted to have them. They got a great product out there. And so like Eli said, check out the QR code and look at the product and try it for yourself. So I do have a movie recommendation. So we got past all the Christmas and so forth. But I saw a movie the other day that I've seen many times, but I'm recommending A Few Good Men. And it's an all-star cast with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. It's really a great movie, and I would highly recommend people if you haven't seen it. It's a Rob Reiner film. and really good. All-star cast, great movie, great performance by both Cruise and Jack Nicholson.
Well, I saw a lot of new shows coming up this week. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock on CBS, you have the 82nd Golden Globe Awards. Nikki Glazer hosts that. Hollywood Squares. That's the iconic show. They're returning for a new show on CBS on Thursday at 8 o'clock. So watch that if you're interested. And Deal or No Deal Island, 8 p.m. on NBC. That returns on Tuesday. I did happen to go see Mufasa the Lion King on Saturday. I was very anticipated. I was waiting to go see it, and I have my movie review for it. I am disappointed. I really am.
Wow.
I know. I was so looking forward to. I was disappointed. Here's my reasons why. The music was not good. I didn't like the music at all. I mean, it was not Elton John who did it. It was Lin-Manuel Miranda, which, don't get me wrong, he's phenomenal. Has great music and stuff, but the music just wasn't right. You had Bye Bye and you had Brother and all that stuff. It was just like the weirdest songs were just incorporated. But and overall, you could tell right away that I can't spoil it, but you already knew who's going to become Scar and how is all going to come out and everything. You can tell right away, 30 minutes into the movie, and you didn't even have to watch the end of it, just filling in the background information. It was very interesting, a little confusing. Not the best film of all time for The Lion King. Very disappointed. I'm mad they didn't sing Hakuna Matata, Timon and Pumbaa. But I do say if you are a fan of Lion King, go ahead and watch it. But you are going to be a little disappointed.
Eli, I have to give full confession here. I've never seen The Lion King. I don't know the concept. I never
Wow.
That's my Rudy. That's my Rudy to you.
Wow. So it took me 6 months to watch Rudy. Now it's going to take 6 months for Jim to watch The Lion King. Jeez, yep. Jim.
I know.
Take a minute later, whatever you're not doing, watch The Lion King, please.
Okay. All right.
The animated version. Don't watch the live action. Animated first. You have to watch the animated.
I got you.
But yeah. Wow. I'm disappointed. But yeah.
I know.
I had to bring up my Mufasa recommendation. I'm seeing if you want to, but I was disappointed myself. I really thought it was gonna be better.
Wow, they've been hyping that like it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But
I know, and a lot of people were disappointed. Believe it or not, they were disappointed, which was shocking. But yeah.
So we got a couple pictures here, right?
All right. Yes, we do. Hold on 1 second.
All right. So this is actually the picture. This is for Kevin Jager, who's going to be on the show. I mean, that's, when you're in the business of television and things, this is one of the highest honors. So this is a shout out to Kevin, and congratulations again. We'll talk a little bit more with Kevin on the show when he's a guest. There is my daughter, my 2 grandkids, and my son-in-law. I told you there's a lot of stuff going around, so you could see my grandson is under the weather, but they tried their best to stay up for midnight, and they did. And so that was that. And I had to say, I got a dog for Christmas, and I got one of these dogs because it's much easier to care for.
Yes,
they don't bark at night. I don't have to walk them in the snow. I don't have to pick them up. So this is Patch, the newest addition to my home here.
All right.
I didn't get it for me. I got it for Lucy, of course. But
we do have a comment coming in. Andrew says, "Jim, watch it with the grandkids."
Okay, fair enough.
See,
that could actually change the setting and make it more
entertaining.
Appealing. Yeah. Good thought.
And then when you're done with that, head to the movies with the grandkids and watch Mufasa the Lion King, which, don't get me wrong, was a good film, but you're going to be disappointed considering the hype and everything. And if you watch Lion King 1, 1.5, and 2, it's going to be a little disappointing. But it was a great movie, though. Good movie, though. But a little disappointing.
All right. Good stuff. All right, Eli. So we also
have a ton of notable passings.
We do. And I'll go down the list of some that I have. And, of course, the 39th president, Jimmy Carter, passed away. He's been in just terrible shape. But, when overall, we don't get into politics on the show, but,
Right.
a lot of people consider him not one of the greatest presidents, but from a human perspective and a humanitarian and just a wonderful guy, 39th president. He made it to 100, but and by the way, there'll be a national day of mourning on January 9th for the
And
former
all flags are
president.
at half mast.
Yeah, and that'll mean the stock exchange is even closed that day. So
I
that's a
know.
big notable. Another one, because Jimmy Carter had quite a military history. He was a naval officer and so forth. But Warren Red Upton um, was 105 years old, and Red Upton was the oldest surviving um, military guy from the attack on Pearl Harbor back in 1941. So 105 years old, and I know
Wow.
he was part of the battleship Utah on that one of six ships to have been sunk there. So that's an amazing thing that he was still around. But you know how we honor our servicemen on this show, so
Absolutely.
wouldn't be right if we didn't notice represent that.
100%.
Yep. From the world of entertainment, a lot of people I know you don't remember, but Linda Lavin starred in a show
Yep.
called Alice, which was very, very popular on Sunday nights on CBS for many, many years. And she passed away. She was 87. I think the last time I saw her, she was made a couple of guest appearances on a Sopranos episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Daryl Haddon, who was 76, was a model and actress. I know you don't know the movie, but North Dallas 40, it was kind of a football movie based on the book by Peter Gent back in the 70s. And she was also a model and for Vogue and Cosmopolitan and so forth, but she was 76 years old. So there's a little tie into sports on that one. Um, and another one, this is kind of notable because Charles Dolan, who founded HBO and was the pioneer of cable television, owned Cablevision. His son now runs the Knicks, the Nets, and Madison Square Garden. But he was 98 years old. Can't deny his impact on the world of media for what's evolving today. So had to
Absolutely.
bring that up. And Eli, you brought it up too. The terrible situation that happened on New Year's Eve in New Orleans, and you know, it's it's heartbreaking to hear this. And one of the persons was a former Princeton player, Tiger Beck. Only 28 years old, and he was an All-American kick returner at
Yeah.
Princeton, by the way. Now I've been on Bourbon Street. I've been there a couple of times, and it's so compact. So just the thought of somebody driving a truck down that street is
The
just horrific.
first thing
I
I
don't know.
want to know is, and I get so angry hearing this. Where was the barricades?
Well,
That's what I want to know.
here's the thing with the barricades, they were malfunctioning or something. So they were in transition of replacing these barriers. But yeah, the New Orleans
No
police,
excuse. Have you been to
Bourbon
Times Square on New
Street is
Year's
the
Eve?
most densely. Huh?
In Times Square New Year's Eve, every single street you went was barricaded. You couldn't move.
I know. Now,
Why wasn't that there? It
was
blows
a-
me away. And this is why I get angry and stuff, because simple little actions like that could save lives.
I know.
Instead,
And
they don't. They just wait and think it's okay. And then look what happens at the end of the day.
no, and that's a terrible situation. And yeah, there's no excuse for not having that blocked off
None.
because
Especially on New Year's.
it's so packed. It's so packed on Bourbon Street. Even not even being New Year's, it could be Mardi
know.
Gras, it could be just a regular thing.
Any
So,
day.
but we send our best to the 15 families that lost victims, and we wish recoveries for the other
Absolutely.
multiple people that were injured. It's a terrible, terrible thing in this country.
Absolutely.
And one
That is-
last one from the world of entertainment, Wayne
got two more.
Osmond. Now, I don't know if Eli knows who the Osmond brothers were, right?
No.
With Donnie and Marie, but they were very, very popular in the 70s and the 80s, and he was the founding member, kind of like the Jacksons. They were all
Yeah.
brothers and sisters in the band, and he was the founder of it. He was 73 years old. So That's my list. If I missed
I got
anybody,
two of them I missed that you have. A CNN anchor who covered extremely well the 9/11 attacks. Aaron Byrne, he was like the first reporter to cover it from the rooftop vantage point. He passed away at the age of 76.
Okay.
And the last one, the series creator of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Britt Allcroft, has passed away at the age of 81. Now, that's a show I grew up watching all the time. So it's horrible to see the creator pass away.
Yeah, I know. My kids watch that. I'm obviously not a big expert on Thomas the Tank Engine, but certainly notable.
Yeah, I could tell you a lot more about that. And yes, Sports Talk with JR, we did mention Jimmy Carter. And yes, thoughts
We
and prayers.
certainly did. Yep. So Eli, listen, I meant what I said in the beginning with the monologue, how delighted I am to have you as part of this show. And look, you could just tell by the comments we got during the show today that we have a lot of followers now and the show is growing. And we are looking forward to just a great 2025 with some new little twists and turns and to spruce up the show a little bit. But
and we hope to have the guests on next week.
Yep. So I'll let you know during the week if Kevin's going to be available, but he should be
Absolutely.
a very interesting guest. And that would be our second Emmy Award-winning guest, as we had Arda Ocal on.
And Ben Fennell, the producer.
Ben Fennell. That's right.
Yep.
3.
We're gonna get more guests. Don't worry about it. We'll be there. Don't worry.
Excellent. But listen, everybody, thank you for your support and Happy New Year. It's 2025, and again, I just couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity to hang with you and interact with our fans every single week. It's great. I love it.
Absolutely. And Sports Talk with JR says, I'm trying to start a podcast. Any advice on that you would give? The only advice I'd say is
now that's we'll be happy to have a conversation with him. So Eli, if we can respond,
send an email to
email.
It's sportswithmonomono@gmail.com.
Yes, we'll be happy to.
The best advice I'd say is just be comfortable with what you know, have prepared information, and start with little time, and then go big.
Yeah,
and go little by little.
Be prepared and know what you want to talk about and make it interesting like we try to do. But send us an email, JT, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you.
Yes.
Certainly. All right, guys. Enjoy all of the sports because it's
so much to talk about. I know.
Eli, so go run to the store, get some Pop-Tarts, and
all right.
We'll catch up during the week. All right.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Happy New Year, everyone.